Hello and good evening, everyone. This Friday night, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We are in the company of former Rangers, Everton, and Scotland international Davy Weir, and looking forward to hearing an insight into Davy's career and just looking back, reflecting on what was an incredible career for Dave. Thank you again, once again, for the comments over the course of the past 3 or 4 days. We've been inundated, to be honest, in terms of the feedback that we've received. Certainly over the guest that has came on over the last few days. So thank you for that. And we just continue to advise you as well. By all means, ping in your questions tonight. I will do my utmost to try and get through as many as I can. Sometimes it's difficult to get through all of them because it's been a busy shows over the last week, but I will certainly do my utmost. So Dave's going to be joining us very, very soon. And in fact, here we go. David Weir, how are you, pal?
Good, thank you. Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, and you too, pal. You too. How have you found things in the challenges that COVID-19 has brought us all over the last few months, mate?
Yeah, it's been missing the football, to be honest, but also been quite nice to be at home. I've been travelling a lot beforehand, so it's actually been quite nice to be at home, but ready to get back in watching football out and about at games and things. But no, it's been okay, and obviously healthy and family have been healthy, which is the main thing.
No, very much so, very much so. We've had several guests on, and not generally because of the career that a football managers had. They don't really tend to get that time, Dave, that maybe the normal 5-8 man would. So I suppose it is good to have that time, mate, with the kids and stuff.
That's right. Yeah, I've got 4 kids, so like you say, you're usually coming in rushing out, or they're rushing out, or kind of normal life ends up being a wee bit like that. So it's been a bit the opposite. It's been kind of spending a lot of time at home and trying to amuse them, try to keep them occupied, and try to do healthy things. Try
not
to
easy.
think about benefits. Not easy, no, but we've done well. We've done all right, and we've not fallen out too badly so far.
Good. David, incredible playing career you had, over 600 appearances, which is phenomenal. And if we could just take you back to your time ultimately at Falkirk, where ultimately you experienced fantastic times, which ultimately seen you get promotion to the Premier League. Must have been a great learning curve for you in your early part of your career.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a really steep learning curve. I'd been in college in America, so I had an unusual route into football, and I just came back to Falkirk, which was my local club, and basically turned up at the door and asked for a trial, or my dad asked for a trial for me, and Jim Jeffries, who was the manager, invited me in and basically gave me a chance to impress. It was in pre-season. I think it was 1992 pre-season. So I just joined the gang. I was in the away dressing room, the reserve dressing room, with a bunch of 16, 17-year-old kids, and I was sort of 22, 23. So it was quite an unusual situation, but I loved it. And Jim and Billy Brown, who were the managers and assistant managers at the time, just gave me an opportunity. And sometimes in football, that's the hardest thing. And I managed to, within a couple of weeks, they'd offered me a contract. And then probably a month after that, I was in the first team. And then that was me up and running. So it was very quick and a very unusual route. But, I'm really grateful for that opportunity. And obviously, I played for a lot of years after that as well.
Mm-hmm. No, very much so. And I look back over your career, Dave, and obviously we'll come to your various clubs in time. But you've become very much a firm favourite, wherever you've been, and certainly you end up at Tynecastle. Obviously, your stock rises when you're obviously at Falkirk, and obviously you get a move to Hearts. You became a very popular figure at Tynecastle, and again achieved success.
We did, yeah. I mean, I've been lucky in throughout my career and had relative success at all the clubs I've played at, and Falkirk getting promoted to the Premier League, and then I think we finished 4th in the Premier League at one stage, which was an unbelievable sort of achievement for Falkirk. And then it was time for me to move on, and I probably stayed a year too late and ended up. Jim moved on to Hearts, and he was keen to take me to Hearts, so I ended up moving through there, which was a step up. It wasn't a massive step up, but it was probably, like in my career, it was the right move at the time. It was definitely in the right direction, and it wasn't too big a club or too big a step. And I was straight in the team, and I was playing. And as you said, we had really good, successful times there, ultimately winning the cup and going very close in the league as well. So we had a really good team, both at Falkirk and also at Hearts.
Yeah, just staying on Hearts. Thomas texted me in here, Dave, in terms of, he says, thank you for your memories at Tynecastle, Dave. The day we had 4 players sent off at Ibrox, surely this must have been one of the craziest games you played in throughout your career.
Yeah, there's been a few crazy ones, but that was ridiculous, as you say, especially at Ibrox. I was a Rangers fan growing up, but I was playing for Hearts at Ibrox, and I think I was the second player to get sent off, and I think Pascal Bruno was definitely one. Neil Poynton was another one, and it just seemed to be like one of those days where everything was going wrong, and we were down to 7 men. I think Rangers were keeping the score down by the end of it. They just wanted the game to get played. They didn't want to take advantage, but it was just one of those days. The referee had a bit of overreaction to a few things, and then it sort of kind of added up, and then all of a sudden there's 7 players on the pitch, and it's never easy to go to Ibrox any time as a visiting player. And then when you're playing with 7 men, fortunately I was the one, but with 7 left on the pitch, you're just you're counting down the seconds and the minutes.
I can imagine. Ross Smith, thanks for texting tonight. Hi David, it's Ross Smith obviously here. Jim Jeffers influenced you to sign for Hearts after you left Falkirk, and was it the best moment winning the Scottish Cup in '98 with him? Obviously Jim had a high influence in your career, Dave.
He did, and obviously still speak to Jim now, and he gave him an opportunity, which I mentioned earlier. Sometimes the hardest thing to get is somebody to give you a bit of trust and give you an opportunity, and Jim was massive in that, and taking me through at Hearts again, showing trust in me and giving me a chance at a big club like Hearts was a great opportunity for me and a good step at the time. And that day we won the cup again. It was against Rangers, which seems to be a bit of the way things worked out, but it was against Rangers in the final, and we managed to win. And going back, that journey back from the game was actually at Celtic Park, but the journey from Celtic Park back to Tynecastle, I'll never forget. There was people everywhere hanging out windows. We were on top of the bus, and get back to Tynecastle Park, there was thousands of people there, and just a crazy couple of days. We played Rangers in a League Cup final before, maybe the year before, and we lost 4-3. Gaza scored a couple of goals and won the game for him, and we were devastated. Then we'd ran them close in the league, both them and Celtic, and then we go to the cup final, and our team was probably getting ready to break up because there was some good players and probably getting a lot of attention. So we knew it was the last chance as a group to really win something, and the satisfaction we took against a really good Rangers team, at the time, with Laudrup, McCoist and Gough and Gorham and people like that, Amoruso. So there was some really, really good players. So it was a special memory, and obviously Jim Jeffries being a big Hearts fan as well, it was an even more special moment for him. But that group, we had a reunion, a 20-year reunion last year, I think it was, which the majority of lads were back at, and it was great to see Gilles Rousset, Stéphane Adam, people like that. Unfortunately not Stefano Salvatore, who's passed away, but other than that, there was a great turnout and great memories.
Dave, obviously the Premier League now has become such a global brand, and we all watch it, and we watch it closely. And obviously, I know you're actively involved with Brighton at the minute. But when we watch it, you know what I mean. We look on, and you're very fortunate to and have the privilege to play at that level. Moving from Scotland, Dave, what was the big difference? Going into the Premier League, coming from obviously the SPL, and because ultimately there has been obviously players made that transition, and it hasn't worked out. Coming from Scotland, but you are a success story of what you achieved.
I think, in Scotland, like, people underestimate how hard it is to play in Scotland, and I think that's been shown by a lot of good players who've came into Scotland and maybe not done as well as people would have expected. So, and especially playing for Glasgow Rangers and Glasgow Celtic, the pressure associated with that is probably bigger pressure than you get, in the majority of clubs, whether it's England or anywhere. So it is difficult to play in Scotland, both for and against Rangers and Celtic. So, don't underestimate that. But if you're being honest, sometimes the level of player, although they raise their game against Rangers and Celtic, I think that's natural, and it was definitely the case for me. Some of the games I've spoke about already, are the biggest games in your calendar, and you look forward to them, and you want to prove yourself. But when you go down to England every week, the opponents you're coming up against, in my era was sort of late 90s, early 2000s, and every team you played against had top strikers, and that's in my position, obviously, as a defender. But you're playing against, United, it was Cole, York, Solskjaer, Sheringham. You can go through, and then you go to Tottenham, it would be Robbie Keane, it would be Freddie Canute, it would be Les Ferdinand. Newcastle would be Alan Shearer. Every club you go to just had a different level of player. Liverpool was Fowler and Owen and Heskey and people like that, and that's like the top clubs. But even when you go to the other clubs, or the next level of clubs, the Leedsies and the Middlesbroughs, it was Boxic, it was Viduka, it was, it was just endless. You never got an opportunity to have a down week or a down day. You just had to be on your game, and it really improved me. I loved the challenge. I enjoyed the challenge. I was playing for a great club at Everton, which, again, I was fortunate I picked the right club. I went to Everton. It was the right progression for me. I had a manager in Walter Smith who, again, trusted me. And I was just so excited. I was 28, 29 at the time, and I got a chance to play in the Premier League. So every game and every weekend for me was such a thrill. And I was going to Old Trafford and White Hart Lane and Main Road, as it was at the time, and grounds like that they'll never seen on TV. So it was a special time for me, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It was a great opportunity and a great club that I went to play for.
Yeah, just listen to you mention some of those names in the Premier League. Then there's some incredible strikers too. When you reflect back on that.
Perfect as well. There was hundreds.
Yeah, you mentioned Walter Smith there, but ultimately, Walter and both David Moyes made you captain at the club. And how good were these guys to play for, David? And ultimately, how different were their managerial styles?
Very different. And I mean, I was relatively fortunate in my career. Only really two managers signed me. Walter signed me for Everton, then signed me back for Rangers, and Jim Jeffries signed me for Falkirk, and then signed me for Hearts. So I didn't really have a lot of managers. David Moyes was at Everton, but never actually signed me. But I played with him for 5 or 6 years. So I didn't have a lot of managers in my career, but I was fortunate to have good managers and people who hopefully trusted me and liked me and wanted to keep me around. And unfortunately, a couple of them signed me again, which I think is a good thing. But Walter was a really difficult time. Everton were struggling. There was financially, we're in a really difficult position, and Walter was basically, dealing with a lot of that and brought a lot of good players to the club. But it seemed to be we were just coming into the club, just getting in a rhythm. Then he had to sell a player, or somebody wanted to move. It was never really stable, and it just was a topsy-turvy time. And success at that time for Everton was staying in the Premier League. And I've mentioned some of the players and teams we were playing against at that time, which was really difficult. So we did that, and that, although it doesn't sound much as success, was at the time. And Walter never really got the chance to build a team there or get a settled team to actually progress. And I think, I know, speaking to him, that it was the right job at the wrong time for him, and it didn't quite work out. And then obviously David Moyes came in after, who was similar to Walter in a lot of respects, but obviously a bit younger and a bit earlier in his career. And he came in, he was very fresh, he had new ideas, he was very much on the training ground, very much more tactical, I'd say, whereas Walter was more about the players and more about the unit and more about having the right environment. David was very kind of tactical and very in terms of what he wanted to do, explaining it and being step by step. So it was a change, although there were similarities in terms of both obviously being Scottish and both having very upfront, very straightforward in how they spoke, and we're always more than happy to explain what they were thinking, but they're very different in how they went about it day to day.
Very good. Two incredible managers, no doubt. Dave, just got a text from the guys at the longest 40. Apparently your ex-teammate Colin Hendry is watching, so if you want to maybe say hello to Colin there, just got a text. Yeah. Neil King, thanks for texting tonight. Incredible question. And did the Merseyside derby atmosphere come close to the atmosphere at an Old Firm? Because certainly when I think the derbies myself, Merseyside derby, Old Firm is certainly two games that, the play in them games must be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, they were, and I was fortunate. I played in the Hearts Hibs derby as well, which again is a big game. Yeah. You can't underestimate that game. And I get asked this question quite a bit, and I feel bad when I answer it, because there's no comparison for me in terms of an Old Firm game, a Merseyside derby, or an Edinburgh derby. The Old Firm game is ahead of it, just in terms of the atmosphere, the build up to it, the hatred that's involved in it. Wrongly in my opinion, but that is the situation that the game involves, and I don't think that'll ever change. I think it's definitely altered in some respects, but just the environment that game creates, and the years and years that have built it up to be what it is, and it ends up being a title decider. It can be a cup final, it can be just a normal game, but then the surrounding of the game and the ramifications for the players, if you don't get a result, that doesn't change. And that's my experience of playing those games, as the Old Firm game is just on a different level to the other ones that have been mentioned.
Yeah, and ultimately, David, at your time at Rangers, to step out on the Ibrox, every other week, and Whilst you're at Rangers, did you feel that maybe you carried the weight of maybe more pressure than any other club because of the expectation when you play for Rangers? There's league titles demanded every season, as opposed to maybe carrying a lack of that pressure. Obviously, when you're at every other club, you want to achieve. I get that, but did you feel more pressure when you played for Rangers?
I did, but I like pressure. I think a lot of people talk about pressure as it's a bad thing. I think pressure is a good thing, and as a player, you want to play in games that mean a lot. And I maybe it was where I was at my career, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that you knew you had to perform every week. You knew that the team you were playing against, it was going to be their cup final. That's how it was at Rangers, and I'm sure it's the same at Celtic. Every team you play against, you're going, I watched them on TV last week. They weren't great. And then you play against them, you think, this is Barcelona we're playing against this week. They're running, twice as fast. They're jumping into tackles. They're getting in the way, everything. They're making it so difficult for you. So very quickly, you realise that. And you come in, I was fortunate in terms of Walter Smith was a manager. So, it didn't take a lot of explaining. Barry Ferguson was there who knew the club inside out. So very quickly, you realise what it's all about. And I was a Rangers fan. I grew up being a Rangers fan. I'd been to watch games at Rangers. I always kept an eye on them throughout my career. And I didn't actually think I was going to get the opportunity to play there. So when I got the opportunity to play there, I wanted to make the most of it. And as I said, I loved the pressure. And I'm not saying that because I'm finished playing it. You look back and you think, that's what it was. I genuinely enjoyed it. And I used to speak to new lads coming in, telling them this is different to anywhere you've ever played. You've got to get used to it. You've got to enjoy the pressure. You've got to enjoy the environment you come into where you're expected to win. And if you don't win, then it's the end of the world. That's the way it works. If you don't win trophies, it's a disaster. That's how it works. And if you don't win trophies for a period of time, then you won't be here. That's how it works. So it's quite clear. It's quite black and white. It's not complicated.
No, very true. Wayne, thanks for texting tonight. Obviously, Dave, you played against some incredible centre forwards. For you, who was the hardest centre forward that you played against, or maybe there was a few in your career?
There was, and again, it's another really good question. And I've mentioned some of them down in England, and I was fortunate at Rangers especially to play Champions League and playing a lot of European games against some really good players. And you think like Messi and Ronaldinho and Mario Gomez, and the list's endless. And then obviously internationally, I was fortunate enough to play 69 times for my country and came up against some unbelievable players as well. So I was really, really fortunate. And the centre forward wise, I always usually give the same answer, and it's Alan Shearer, just because he had a bit of everything. He could run, he could head, he could have a fight, he could find space, he could finish off his left, finish off his right, he could header it. He just had absolutely everything, and he just consistently did it. It wasn't like he was really good for a short period of time and then went off the boil. He was just consistently good. So every time you played against him, you got a game, and he was very, very competitive, and I enjoyed that. So he was probably the best centre forward I played with. But if you're asking me the best player, Messi probably, or maybe Zidane, who was a special player as well. So I've been really lucky to play against with some great players, but Alan Shearer was definitely the toughest opponent.
Yeah, and obviously, Dave, you're rhyming off players there and huge names, but ultimately, 3 days before your 40th birthday, Davy Weir gets the Scottish Writers Footballer of the Year, and given the talent and the ability that was in Scotland at that time, first of all, a massive well done. But that's I guess that's a testimony to Davy Weir of how professional and how well you looked after your body, because there's very few players play at that, but there's very few players actually at that level and still achieve. So absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, I was. By that time, I wasn't up my career, if I'm being honest, but by that time I was a very good professional in terms of how I looked after myself and the things I did, and I learned that. But I also mentioned earlier that the credit goes to a manager giving you opportunity. Like Walter Smith, I was 40 years old, 39 years old, 38 years old, whatever it was when I was at Rangers, and that's tough to pick somebody when they're that age. So he showed great confidence in me and great trust in me, and I wanted to repay that by being as good as I could on the pitch and off the pitch and trying to help him. So I took that personally. I took that responsibility personally. And there was a lot of good players in Scotland, but we had a good team. And Walter set up the team to suit the pieces he had. We didn't have the best players necessarily, but we had a really good team and a really good balance. So we gave the players within the team the best chance of being successful. So it was a great honour for me, but I've got to be honest and say it's only as a result of the manager who trusted me and the teammates I had round about me. And it was a great time for Rangers round about then. We won 3 leagues in a row. We were winning the majority of the cups. We were very successful, and we didn't take it for granted. But when you look back now and how long it's been for Rangers to win a trophy, it was really good times and really successful times, and hopefully it comes back soon.
John Brown, thanks for texting tonight. Dave, how do you think the Scotland team performed in France '98, and is there a sense that the team underachieved?
There is a sense, I think, because you want to qualify, you want to get to the group stages, and I mean that's 22 years ago, and it was the last time Scotland were at a major tournament, and ultimately you need a little bit of luck to go through the stages and to get through. And we had a group. The first game against Brazil was probably a game you're not expected to get a result in, but then we had Norway and Morocco, where you probably are. But those games kind of hinge on little decisions, and even in Brazil, I didn't start the Brazil game or play in the Brazil game, but even in that, it was very fine lines between winning and losing. And then in Norway, we probably should have won and ended up drawing. And then against Morocco, we had to win to get through, and we had a sending off in the game, and probably things didn't go as well as we could have done. We probably never played as well as we could have done. A couple of players were missing, so it was an underachievement. And unfortunately, at the time, that was kind of normal for Scotland, was to get to tournaments but not qualify for the next stage. Whereas now we're not actually getting to the tournament, so it was an underachievement at the time. But now we would, what would we give to get that opportunity again?
Yeah. Colin is texting, Dave, in international football, obviously you retired under Bertie Vokes, only to come back under Walter. Was the situation with Mr. Vokes a situation that it just couldn't be mended? It was that bad, or the relationship had completely broken down?
Yeah, that was a horrible time in my career. I genuinely hated doing that, and I didn't want to do it. And I'd been thinking about it for a while, and I was, it really pained me to do it. I had a young family at the time. You give up a lot, a lot of people, I'm sure, are aware of that, but you give up a lot when you go away and play with your country. It's fantastic, and I loved it. And I travelled all over the world at any time just to play for my country. But I got to the stage where I wasn't enjoying it, and I got the feeling where Bertie Vokes wasn't enjoying me either, which is obviously important as well. So I just felt it was the right thing to step away at that time, and I'd made the decision that that I was walking away. It was the right thing to do for everyone, and I didn't enjoy doing it, and I didn't want to do it. But sometimes we've got to do the right thing as well. And I'm just really grateful that again Walter Smith gave me the opportunity to come back. I think it was about 2.5 years later, so I missed probably 20-30 games with Scotland, and it pained me every time Scotland played because I wanted to be playing. But at that time, I just felt it wasn't doing anybody any good. So I walked away and I concentrated on my club career and playing for Everton and tried to do as well as I could there. And then obviously Walter came back into the frame as Scotland manager and asked me to come back, which now I'm older and I can look back on my career, and fortunately I never left Scotland on a bad note. I left playing some successful games, some good games against the likes of France and Italy and games like that where, if I hadn't had that opportunity, then I would have had regrets for the rest of my life.
Yeah, massive. No, understand. Gary Wilkinson, thanks for your text tonight. Fantastic question. Dave, what was the core values of being a Rangers captain, and how did the foreign players adapt to that culture? Thank you for that, Gary.
Yeah, I think the core values, I think it's very important that you realise the significance of being Rangers captain. And I became Rangers captain in middle of the season when there was a problem with Barry, and Barry had a bit of an issue playing for Scotland, and it couldn't really go on. So Walter made a decision to take the captaincy off Barry, which wasn't a nice thing. Barry's my friend and my teammate, and it was a really difficult situation for Walter as well, and obviously for Barry, and then for me as well. So it wasn't a great situation for me to come into, and we had to win a league as well off the back of that. So that was sort of a few months left on the season, a really, really important season. So it was a real distraction for the club and for myself. And I think the main focus is you've got to do it on the park. That's the biggest thing. You've got to be able to perform, be captain, perform, but you've also got a responsibility to be honest, to let the rest of the dressing room know what it means to play for Rangers, which Barry was very good at, and I just continued that. And Barry helped me with that even when he wasn't captain. And then obviously be the middleman between the group of players and the manager as well, which was easy for me because Walter always spoke to me and communicated with me and trusted me, I think. And I'd like to think I did the same for him with the dressing room. And I was well respected in the dressing room. I was comfortable with that. So I took it personally just to try and be the conduit between the dressing room and the manager, and also in the media, say the right things in the media, which is really, really important. Getting the right message across to the fans, realising that the players understand the significance of playing for Rangers, the importance of playing for Rangers, and what playing for Rangers means. And that was easy for me because I'd been a Rangers fan, I'd watched Rangers as a player, and I'd been in the dressing room, so I understood it. It was just important that I think the fans and the club realised that I understood the significance of that, which hopefully came across.
Yeah. David Brown, thanks for texting. David, can you describe what it was like to be part of the Rangers UEFA Cup campaign on the road to Manchester in 2008?
Well, it was a crazy time. It was 6 to 8 games I think we played that season. We got to 3 cup finals, the League Cup final, the Scottish Cup final, the UEFA Cup final as it was back then, and the league went to the last game of the season. So the European adventure started off in the Champions League. It started off in Champions League qualifiers. We got through them barely. We got into a group with Barcelona, who are always going to be great, Stuttgart, who were a top German team, and Lyon, who were a fantastic French team. So we got an unbelievable draw. We lost the last game to Lyon at Ibrox, which meant we didn't qualify for the last 16 of the Champions League. We went into the UEFA Cup and we just went on an unbelievable run. We weren't a fantastic team to watch, but we were really difficult to beat. We were very hard working, and we were always in the game. And we played Panathinaikos, we got through, I don't know how. We played Werder Bremen, we got through, I don't know how. We played Sporting Lisbon, we got through, I don't know how. And then we played Fiorentina in a 2-legged semi-final. And we won that game on penalties. And all of a sudden, we're in the final of the UEFA Cup, and the other semi-final was then against Bayern Munich. So whoever we were going to play was going to be a top team. And over 2 legs, I'd fancied us because that really suited us at that time. But unfortunately for us, it was 1 leg, and it was a one-off game. And we never played as well as we could have done, although 20 minutes to go, it was 0-0, and we still had a chance, but we never quite got over it. And going from being potentially the most successful Rangers team in history, winning a treble and a European competition, then all of a sudden it was a completely different scenario, and we were under pressure in the league, and we had a Scottish Cup final to look forward to, and we'd already played about 65 games at that time.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, David, just listened to you there, and obviously the games and the magnitude of the games that you've played at, Merseyside derbies, Old Firm, played in Europe, all of that. When it was eventually time for David Weir to retire, was management the natural progression to going into? Obviously, we've had various managers on the show this week: Harry Redknapp, Alex McLeish, and Franco Zola last night. And the one thing that probably changed out in some of those guys, they didn't actually see themselves ever being a manager. Obviously, you go in at Sheffield United. Your first job, was that something, having the leadership qualities that you had at Ibrox and captain wherever you've been, was that a natural progression for you?
I wanted to be a manager and wanted to try being a manager, and that was always something on my mind. But I actually went after Rangers. I went back to Everton and I coached with the 23s with Alan Stubbs and Andy Holden for a couple of years, about 18 months, I think, a couple of years. David Moyes was always asking me to go back as a coach, and so I kept playing on at Rangers and kept getting another year and kept really enjoying that. So I got the opportunity to go back to Everton and coach because I thought that was would give me a bit of experience before hopefully I got an opportunity to be a manager. But even in that year, 18 months, there's no way I was ready to be a manager at Sheffield United. And I give great credit to the managers who stay in the game. Harry Redknapp, people you've had on the show who've stayed in the game for a long period of time and managed to navigate their way through really, really difficult situations. Being a manager is a tough job. I don't think until you are a manager, you actually understand what's involved. You're obviously going from a player or a coach to being a manager. You're responsible for 25 players. You're responsible for 15, 20 staff, whatever it may be. You've obviously got an owner, a board to be responsible for. So I wasn't used to probably that side of things, and I was underprepared, and I did the best I could, but it didn't work out, and I learned lots. And I unfortunately wasn't as successful at Sheffield United, and I regret that because I'd like to think I was successful at most places I went to. But Sheffield United have gone on and done great, so they've obviously think they've made the right decision. Mm-hmm. And management wasn't for me at that time, and who knows in the future. I've been an assistant now with Mark Warburton, and I'm presently working for Brighton, looking after the loan players, and I love that job and I love that club. So Who knows what the future will hold, but it was a great experience for me, but I wish it had ended better, but that's often how football is. So you learn and you move on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty in that, David, and I know the viewers watching as well. I think, and clearly, do hopefully maybe you get back in again and where that journey leads to, but Les McElroy's texting tonight, a great question. Best player you played with at Ibrox, Dave, and also the best player that you coached during your time on there. We'll come to Mark Warburton in a second because there's a few questions pinging in here. Best player you coached at Rangers whilst you were with Mark.
Right. So best player I played with and best player.
Yeah. You coached at Ibrox.
Best player I played with, I'd have to say Barry Ferguson. I thought Barry was. I played with Barry at Scotland, but until you work with him day to day, I don't think I realised how good a player he was. And there was some games we played in, and obviously, as I said, playing at Rangers, you're under pressure every week. And Barry rose to the occasion on certain games. And I didn't play for a lot with Barry at Rangers, just the way it worked out. But I got to see how good a player he was, how good a trainer was, and how good a Rangers captain he was, if I'm being honest as well. So that was really helpful for me. But certain games, Barry almost won them by himself. He rose to the occasion. He took it personally. He demanded the ball. He scored goals. He created goals. He just gave a bit of everything. He was a top player, Barry, and he was probably, and I was fortunate enough. I said we had really good teams at Rangers. We didn't have the Gascoignes and the Loudrops and the Trevor Stevens and the Ali McCoys. We didn't have players like that, but we had really good players, Steve Davis, Nikica Jelavic, Bugera, Alan McGregor, players like that, some top players, but I'd have to say Barry was the best in my time there. I probably missed a few out, so apologies to them.
No problem at all.
Best player we coached, again, that's a difficult one. Again, I mean, some players like Kenny Miller was fantastic for us, obviously towards the end of his career, but a real top professional, a really, really good football player, underrated as a football player. Nico Krankier was an unbelievable football player, and obviously the Rangers fans never saw the best of him because he got an injury at a really bad time, just when he was coming back to the level we knew and hoped he could get to. So he would have been up there as well. But we were fortunate enough to have some really good players. James Tavernier done great for us, came for 50 or 60 grand. We brought Tav in for, and he's turned into a great player for Rangers, a fantastic crosser of the ball, and did some unbelievable things in the final third. I'm trying to think of some of the other players actually we've coached with, but I kind of thought any of the lads that came in, really all contributed. And but I'd probably say Kenny or Nico, probably, if I'm being honest.
And obviously, just touching on Mark Warburton, obviously from being a manager, Dave, and then going into being an assistant, obviously to Mark, and you touched something there. I'm a firm believer in life. We sometimes learn more from the situations that don't maybe just go as well. And you touched on your situation at Sheffield United, maybe just didn't go the way you would like. You joined forces with Mark, you go on at Rangers. I'm sure what you've learned from that was absolutely massive. But in terms of, with Mark, was that valuable for your learning going forward and potentially maybe becoming a manager again one day?
I don't know about becoming a manager, but just at that time in my career, I was obviously really disappointed having left Sheffield United, and you're damaged by that. It's difficult. It's really personal when you lose your job, as I'm sure a lot of people understand. So I was having a difficult time. I lost my job. The first time I'd been at work for probably 25 years. So I was trying to use the time wisely. And then I just met Mark, and Mark had just got the opportunity to take the job at Brentford, and through a friend of ours introduced me, and we just had similar ideas in terms of how we wanted to play, in terms of how we believe things should be done. And probably I was different in terms of Mark's pedigree and background was the financial industry, and he's been a sporting director, and mine was a player and a manager. So I had different experiences to Mark. So we probably blended quite well. And although we're very different, we got on well. And I was very conscious of the fact that Mark was the manager. So I would be very honest with him in terms of what I thought and what we thought we should do. But I was also conscious of he was a manager and his decision went, and there can only be one manager. So it was a change in role, but Mark, 100% took on my opinion, which I really enjoyed, and I was more than happy to give him it. And it was a great environment. I loved being at Brentford. We won League One. We're second in League One, got promoted. Then the next season we went into the playoffs. We got beat by Middlesbrough in the semi-final of the playoffs, and we signed some great players. Frank Rapalland, who was the head of recruitment director of football at the time, and there's some great players to work with. Andre Gray, Scott Hogan, Alex Pritchard, Hota, who's at Villa now, Harley Dean, Jake Bidwell, Adam Forshaw. Genuinely there was
good say.
10 players, who came from different countries, different leagues, and put them together, and it just was a great time, really enjoyable time, and we genuinely felt we could be anybody in that team, regardless of who we played.
Yeah. Stuart Armour's text in tonight, David. What do you think Gerrard needs to improve for us to win the league next year? And obviously, you follow the fortunes of Rangers very closely, David, in terms of where do you see the situation at Rangers right now, and the improvement that maybe Gerrard has made since he's come in, but ultimately, what does he still need to do to obviously improve the playing staff?
I think he needs to win a trophy, and that's a really obvious thing to say. But I think the first trophy is often the hardest, and getting that first trophy under your belt, in terms whether it's a cup or whatever it is, I just think that gives a bit of momentum and a bit of belief. I think Rangers were really, really close this year. I genuinely do. And I think as it got up to January, obviously winning the game before the break, and after the break, it didn't work out the way anybody wanted. But in my mind, and whether this is right or wrong, the thing that changed was Morelos stopped scoring. So all of a sudden the picture changes. Edouard scored all season, and Celtic, they had other players who scored, but I thought he and then Griffiths coming in made a difference. And all of a sudden Morelos went for scoring, 25, 30 goals before Christmas. After Christmas, I think it was 1 or 2. That's a big, big change in your game, and a big change in what happens. And centre forwards, any level of football, in my opinion, make or break your team. If your centre forward's not scoring, then games become harder to win. And if you're not winning games, especially at Rangers, then it becomes difficult to win leagues. And I thought personally that was the biggest change. And goal scorers are worth their weight in gold. Obviously, Defoe got injured as well, which was a big loss. But Morelos not scoring, I think, had a real impact on Rangers' period after the break. And that was, it's a really hard thing to replace. And when you've not got a window to do it, then it becomes really difficult. But getting a trophy, whatever that may be, I think will be really important for Rangers moving forward.
David, we talked off earlier on. You're now at Brighton. You're involved in the recruitment side of the game, and how I know you're enjoying it, but you certainly speak very engaging in terms of learning that role. Is that something that you do foresee yourself pressing into, and how different do you find that even from management to then all of a sudden you're maybe dealing more with agents, you're dealing more obviously with that side of the game? Do you find that more challenging or even more interesting?
I think both. I think it is a challenge. It's different for me, and I'm out of my comfort zone. I left Rangers and left Forest and was kind of a bit disillusioned just in terms of how those had ended. So I was looking for something that was a bit more permanent and a bit more something that would maybe challenge me in different ways. So I got a great opportunity from Brighton to do the role I'm doing now, and I've been there almost 2 years now, and I love it. It's a fantastic club. It's a great culture at the club in terms of how it's managed from the owner down, who's a local supporter. The CEO's top, Paul Barber's top, and then my boss, Dan Ashworth, Paul Winstanley, who's head of recruitment, who I know are really good people. So I enjoy the day-to-day interactions I have with all those people, and I enjoy the role dealing with the players that I'm dealing with, who, to be honest, are really good players, which helps as well. So I'm trying to help them, which I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed trying to help younger players and try to help them develop. And hopefully they enjoy me working with them. And who knows what will happen in the future. I know how football works, but I'm really, really happy doing what I'm doing just now. And I thankfully Brighton given me the opportunity when they did. And I think they're happy with what I'm doing, and I'm happy in my role. And I think we're building something. I think Brighton are, I've got expectations of being a top 10 Premier League club, and I think we're on the journey to being there, and I'm really happy to be helping with that.
Yeah, but I think it's important too for them as well, that someone like yourself and the knowledge that you've actually played the game. Dave, it must be a massive coup for them to have someone like yourself in that role. You know what I mean? Where maybe so many times, maybe, individuals in those roles at clubs haven't really played, and it can be, you have a little bit more understanding when you're dealing with players, and you can relate a little bit more because you've been there.
Yeah, I think that helps. I've got to be honest. Yeah. I think that helps, but it's not everything. It can't be everything, as you say. Yeah. Dealing with agents, you're dealing with clubs, and what you did on the pitch doesn't really affect those people. So you've got to stand on your own 2 feet in terms of, and I've been learning. I've got to be honest. I've been learning in terms of negotiating, in terms of getting people in front of people, and the conversations you've got to have, and how you go around doing that. So there's been lots of learning for me, and I've been out of my comfort zone on a lot of occasions. I'm doing a lot of traveling. You're going to meet people, and you've got to make an impression, create an impression, and try and enable things to happen. So it's a role I haven't done before, but I really enjoy it. I feel like I've learned loads, and being a player's helped me, definitely. There's no doubt, because it opens doors, and I think some people will listen to you or give you a little bit of time to listen to you, but you've got to justify it by what you say and what you're offering, and that's a big part of it. You've got to have an idea of what you've got and what you're trying to offer to the other team as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. David, I'm conscious it's Friday night and we've been going 42 minutes, so we'll end on this one. I've actually got a text pinged into my phone. Can we get maybe David's best 11? But I think rather than doing the 11, can we maybe get Davy Weir's 5-a-side team of players that you've played with? Because we're going to be here quite a while with the quality that you've played with. So if you want to even just give the viewers your 5-a-side, the best that you've played with over your time here.
All right. Well, I'll try and go through this quick. 11 would have been difficult, but obviously I need a goalkeeper. So I've played with some good goalkeepers, and I'll try not to make this too long. So I've played with Jim Leighton, I've played with Andy Gorham, I've played with McGregor, I've played with Nigel Martin, Tim Howard. I've played with some really, really good goalkeepers, but I've got to be honest, I'd have to say Alan McGregor. In terms of, there was one goalie, Nigel Martin was great, so he must have been really close. Andy Gorham was unbelievable as well, but I played a lot with Alan McGregor, and I class him as a friend. And if I had somebody that I needed to save a penalty, my life depended on it, my kids' life depended on it, whatever it may be, I'd want Alan McGregor in goal. So I can't really put it any better than that. And he did it. We played Celtic, he saved Sam Rassi's penalty, and it was, I never said I knew he was going to save it, but if there was anybody I wanted to save it, or would have had in goal to save it, then he'd have been the man. So he would definitely be in the goal in the team. Okay. If I was to pick a defender, again, that's really hard. I had a really good partnership with Alan Stubbs when I was at Everton. So I really enjoyed playing with him. I think we complemented each other really well. I had a great partnership with John Hughes at Falkirk, who, again, probably not as famous as a lot of the players and as big a profile, but I love playing with him. A great captain, great in the dressing room, and got the most of what he had. A great partnership with Paul Ritchie at Hearts. Bugera, Quella. So, and then Richard Gough at Everton as well. I played with Richard Gough, and obviously
incredible names, Dave. Incredible names.
I'm so lucky with some of the players I've played with. But I was picking somebody, I'd probably say Richard Gough, although he probably wasn't at his best when I played him. But having seen him, just having the opportunity to play with him, I think he's got to be in there as well. I'm just getting a lot of Rangers players in this team.
Are you sticking yourself in this team? Are you?
No, I'm not. There's too many to choose from, so I can't get in that team.
Right. Okay.
Midfield, again, Barry was fantastic, so he'd be in the running. Even with Scotland, playing with John Collins, Gary McAllister, Paul Lambert, people like that, some top players. Missed out Colin Hendry as well. There's another one forgot about as well. So another centre back. But I'd say Gaza. Played with Gaza at Everton, not at Rangers. Played against him at Rangers, and again at Everton, he was past his best, but he was an unbelievable player. He never did it as often, but when he did it, he was out of this world, and I'd love to have played with him at his best. I played against him at his best in a cup final for Hearts against Rangers, and as I said earlier, he won the game on his own. He was unstoppable when he was on it, and he was a great lad and a great character off the pitch. So probably be Gaza. And then the two up front are really easy, to be honest. And when people have asked me in the past, my 11, my strikers, Duncan Ferguson and Wayne Rooney. And Wayne came into the team when he was 16, 17. He was a man, and he just knew he was going to be a top player. And I don't mean a top Premier League player, just a top world player. And I was fortunate to have the privilege of playing with him very early on in his career, and watched his career develop, and top goal scorer for England, top goal scorer for Man United. It's an unbelievable career he's had, and he's got to be in the team, And then Duncan Ferguson as well, who probably unfortunately never played as many games as we would have liked for injury at Everton, and that's a regret for everybody. But when he was fit, and when he was up for it, and when he was available, he was unstoppable as well. If the ball was in the air and it was getting crossed in, the defenders didn't stand a chance. He just outstrengthened them. But within that as well, his aggression, he had such a great level of ability in terms of his touch and his technique and his finishing, left and right. And as I said, in the air, he was unstoppable. So that's my team. So I think that's 5, is it? Is that 5? So,
I tell you what, it would take another decent 5-a-side to certainly beat that, I would imagine. And I really appreciate you sharing that with us, Dave. You know what I mean? Because I know I'm conscious of the time. But I think again, you know, when you list the players that couldn't get into that team, again, a testament to Davy Weir, the career that you had, Dave. And I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone here at the Longest 40 for an experience epic for coming on tonight and sharing with us. And I wish you continued success in the game, Dave. You're an absolute gentleman, and take care and God bless you, pal.
Oh, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Thanks everybody for the questions, and have a good night.
Take care, Dave. We'll be in touch. Thank you, pal. So there we have it, folks. Engage an evening with David Weir, and thank you so much indeed for your time, for the questions, and we continue to thank you to everyone that engages with us over the last few days, and we're incredibly grateful. We're back on Monday night. We have Liverpool and England former international goalkeeper Chris Kirkland joining us, and then we have Mick McCarthy will be on screen on Tuesday night. So thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend. Take care and keep safe. God bless you.